Welcome to Patter with Pauline, a podcast about what's happening in the primary school. And today's guest is Angela Newby. Angela is our head of K-12 digital learning. Welcome, Angela.
Hi, Pauline.
Tell us a little bit about your role, your average week maybe, or your role in our school.
So my role at the school as head of digital learning, I have a number of little roles. Okay, I do actually teach in our primary school, which I love. That's one of my favourite parts of my role.
We're very grateful
because I do get to have an experience of what's going on in the classrooms, which is fantastic. But as well as that, I do oversee. So as part of my role, I oversee the technologies, the tools, the software that we use across our school. I work with our digital literacy coaches to make sure that the work that we're doing is all aligned across the 3 schools. And I also work with a few other groups within the school, like our learning systems group, that look at really exciting things like what platforms we're going to invest our finances into, all things that are going to make a difference for our children's learning.
So your normal week would be quite varied, I'd imagine.
Yeah, very varied. So I'm either teaching, I may be teaching in K1 one morning, but then that afternoon I might be in a meeting with one of the leadership teams, or I might the next day be meeting with one of my digital literacy coaches or all 3 of my digital literacy coaches. It can be very, very varied.
So the one thing you didn't probably mention there, Angela, was our digital information literacy curriculum. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So we often hear and read about the urgent need to prepare our students for the fast-paced, technology-driven world they're growing up in. And the question around how are our schools equipping our young people with the digital and information literacy, understanding, knowledge and skills is one that's really topical at the moment. It's actually such a hot topic and really often quite an emotive subject. And it's in an area really that most of us didn't learn about at school. We did learn maths even if it was different, and we did learn English even if it was different. So who better to hear from than our head of digital literacy? So we'll talk about that new curriculum and how it is designed to do just that, prepare our students for the world they're growing up in today, and also the unknown future that will undoubtedly be intertwined with technology.
Yeah, as you said, it's incredible how much the digital world has changed, even in the last few years. That's why it's so important that we do have a strong digital information literacy curriculum, and especially for our primary students. They're growing up in a world where digital literacy is no longer optional. It's essential. It's one of our essential literacies. Our curriculum has evolved significantly over time to reflect the change in landscape. And this year it's had a brand new update, which we're very, very excited about. So that we have to do this. We have to revisit our curriculums just to ensure that they remain relevant and effective in addressing the challenges and the opportunities that our students face online.
So that makes sense. What are some of the key changes or updates that have been made to the curriculum? Because we had a digital literacy curriculum. What are some of the key updates or changes?
I think the most significant change to the curriculum is that we now have a much stronger focus on digital well-being within our curriculum.
Very important.
We've tried to really strengthen the digital citizenship side of things, so students being more proactive in being aware of their well-being, and also the safety side of things. And we've got a new collaboration and advocacy strand within our curriculum as well.
So that's so important. It's easy to sort of get caught up in that online world. So teaching children about that balance, from a healthy balance between digital exploration and other activities is crucial today, isn't it? What else has been updated? I know that digital safety is a key part of the curriculum, but I'm not sure that everyone would know what that actually means for primary age children.
Yeah, well, digital safety for our younger learners involves them understanding, that there are guidelines in place. It might be that there's guidelines in place for a specific app or tool that we use online or a website that we visit online. There's also specific guidelines that we have in our school and in our classrooms. And these guidelines, it's important that learners understand that they're there to help them to develop safe, respectful and responsible interactions with others. We educate them around protecting their own personal information and also recognising and avoiding cyber threats. It's not just about using technology, it's about preparing our students to navigate this digital world responsibly and ethically. We can teach this through interactive activities, age-appropriate discussions, online, all about online risks, and maybe even model some responsible digital behaviour ourselves as well.
Well, I think we'll probably talk a bit more about that, won't we, throughout this discussion. But really interesting there what you said. How does our curriculum, our updated curriculum, Angela, how does it address those concerns about data privacy and online interactions, especially with our younger learners in mind?
Our curriculum, it emphasises the importance of safeguarding our own personal information, and teaching students to be very cautious whenever they are sharing anything online, even if it is as simple as a piece of work that they're proudly sharing. Well, where is it a safe space for a young person to do that? We have safe spaces for students to be proud and share their learning, like our Seesaw platform and things like that, so they can start to understand about what sharing online means, but in safe spaces where they're not going to be put at risk. And we do ensure that the children understand ethical implications of their digital actions. For example, some of our activities focus on what information is safe to share online and what information should be kept just in person or when you're just talking to somebody. And another really big piece for our students is that ability to spot when something online makes them feel uncomfortable, whether it's that somebody shared something that they don't think they should have done, or they've done something that maybe they shouldn't have done, and then helping them to know what they should do in that situation and how to report it.
So I suppose that leads, because that's certainly beyond the classroom as well, so that leads really to what can parents do to support their children in being safe online?
Well, I think one of the things is trying to have parents mirror the same kind of conversations that we have in the classroom, like, what information is and is not okay to share online. But also I think the most crucial thing, and I'll keep coming back and I'll keep repeating this throughout this conversation, is that keep open lines of communication open all of the time. Be interested in what your child is doing online. Whether you are or you are not interested in that latest game that they've just discovered, you need to be interested, be proactive, have conversations with them about the different things that they're engaging with online. And then that will naturally mean that you will be the first person that they will come to if something does happen that makes them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, really, really important, isn't it, to just keep those lines of communication open. You mentioned there earlier digital well-being. So what exactly does that mean, and how does it relate to young children's development?
I think when some people hear the word digital well-being, I think a lot of parents, especially, and teachers, often are kind of directly link that with screen time, right? That's one thing, and that healthy balance. But actually, digital well-being is about a lot more than the healthy balance between digital and non-digital activities. Yes, of course, that is one of our areas, and yes, it is extremely important, especially for younger children, because it's so important that as they're it's important for them to develop a whole range of experiences, and those face-to-face interactions for those youngest children are so important.
Like physical activity.
Exactly, and interacting and engaging with somebody where you can see their facial reactions. And this is all very important, but also digital well-being is also about how our actions in the digital world build our digital identity, and how it shapes the identity that we're reflecting about ourselves online, and how that evolves with us as we grow. It's not something that you just change every year. Your identity grows, your online identity. And then another piece of our digital wellbeing curriculum that I'm most pleased with, let's say, I don't know the wording that I wanted there, but is that the piece that really speaks to our mission is actually how important our collective responsibility for not just our own individual well-being, but also for the well-being of others. How might our online choices also impact the well-being of others?
Now, we couldn't have this conversation without me talking about screen time, because that is probably the hottest topic around. So how does this updated curriculum address the issue of screen time and digital well-being, as you've been talking about there?
Well, of course, we do want our students to be aware of when they are in front of a screen. But the most important thing that we do talk about is that there are different types of screen time. And we will talk about this whenever there's a parent session here and parents ask us about how much screen time is okay. We will always start with, it's more about what is happening. Some screen time is more beneficial than others. So our curriculum promotes strategies to help students be more mindful of how engagement with different digital activities actually makes them feel. And we feel that this is much more powerful than putting an amount of time on the amount of time that you should be on a device. And once students start to recognise things like, oh, if I spend too long playing a particular game, then sometimes I realise that starts to make me feel stressed or even angry. Or we've had some children through our discussions that have shared with us that when they start scrolling through YouTube and playing those recommended videos that it gives you at the end of every video, that actually they've started to notice that sometimes that makes them feel quite bored or restless. And once they're able to connect these feelings and these emotions with the activity that they're doing, they're then much better equipped to make more informed decisions about the media that they choose to engage with that actually adds value to their life and contributes to a healthy digital lifestyle.
Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? But it is that them being able to identify, those different feelings and how they're attached to what they're doing online. As I said before, it does go way beyond the classroom. This is actually, like you say, building their digital identity, that whole well-being piece. So how can parents and educators support children in developing healthy habits, digital habits really, and that positive digital identity that you've spoken about?
Well, obviously parents and educators together play a crucial role. One thing we will always say to parents, we will always start with in our session, is start by being that healthy role model yourself. You can work together to create a family media plan that you create together with your child. You don't bestow it upon your child, but you work together to share it, to agree it together, where maybe you might agree how devices are to be used at home. This will look different in every family, as it should, because a media agreement should be aligned with your family values and built around your unique things that are important to you as a family. Of course, as I said earlier, keep those communication lines open. Talk to your child about how they feel when they're using digital devices. And if you start to see behaviours in your child that are maybe different because they're interacting with something, then make sure you have those conversations with them at that time. Don't wait, don't leave it. And then work with them to develop strategies for managing their time and their emotions. Of course, it is also important to, I'll talk about that digital identity piece that you talked about. There'll be lots of activities through school where they'll learn about what that means, what is your digital identity. But I think it's important that you continue those conversations at home. A digital identity is the image that we project online through all the interactions that we have or through all the information that we choose to share. So parents can help children understand that every piece of information they share online contributes to shaping that identity. Our curriculum does encourage students to think critically about how their online actions contributes to their digital identity and to make choices that truly reflect their own personal values. So I guess it's about helping them to cultivate a positive and authentic online presence.
And again, it's that speaking with them, having those conversations, making those conversations a natural part of what we do. You mentioned workshops and things at school. We're really fortunate, and many of our parents will know that we do run workshops for parents that help with this. Our Parenting in the Digital Age is run by our digital literacy coach in primary school, Dave Caleb. So listeners, keep an eye out for that. The dates are on the calendar, and that's where you actually take part together with your child in a workshop, so that messaging and those agreements can be done together. Okay, so you talked about a strand around collaboration and advocacy, and thinking a little bit more about our students' learning, can you share how this updated digital information literacy curriculum promotes collaboration and advocacy using digital tools and helps them become more responsible digital citizens?
I will. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it?
It was
that?
actually.
Collaboration and advocacy. Well, our curriculum aims to highlight the potential of technology for connecting you with others, for working, even just when you're thinking about our very youngest students, that's about just learning how to work together on a project, maybe work together, sharing a device together, working together. But as they move up through the primary school, that then becomes, they learn all about the power of connecting through technology digitally and working together on whether it be a project, a document, collaborating, collecting things across multiple devices, but learning how they can do that and share.
It's actually one of our profile skills, collaboration.
Absolutely. So they can learn how they can work together, and also how technology can be used to advocate for positive change.
Yeah.
We do encourage our students to collaborate respectfully in digital spaces, so understanding to value the contributions of everybody, and that's quite a hard piece to navigate when you're quite young, in that if somebody's shared an idea that you maybe don't like or don't agree with, they have to learn how to navigate that and how to work together to come to some agreements about how they're going to work together to use digital tools to amplify their voices and hopefully affect change.
I mean, just thinking about that, we talk about safe, responsible, respectful all the time in schools, and then they collaborate a lot in schools and work like that. And you would think, well, why can't they just do the same digitally? But it is different, isn't it? It is very instant. It's very different. There's almost sometimes a feeling of anonymity as well. So there are a whole new set of skills and challenges to face. Yeah, the advocacy bit's really important, because advocating for positive change, being a change maker, etc., is so mission aligned. Can you share some specific examples of what that might look like for a primary school student, and how they might engage in meaningful digital advocacy?
Yeah, I will. Even young students can make a difference. We can all make a difference. They may use digital tools to raise awareness about an issue that they really care about. Something super simple, create posters, or even participate in virtual events. That might be something where the class teacher might have organised a special speaker that's going to join them through a meet or through a virtual
little bit like
world.
UWC Day. We do that sometimes.
Exactly
at UWC
right, and we do
Day.
Connect Up sometimes. And our curriculum encourages them to think about how technology can be used to make a positive impact on their communities and the world. So actually just even direct impact here. What could they do here to make a change, to make difference?
Well, I'll give an example of that. So a group of our K1, our youngest children, they're 4 and 5 years old, they did just that last year, actually.
They did, yeah.
They were horrified by the amount of litter around the campus when they went on a walk with their class doing some outdoor learning. And when they returned to class, they decided to make posters to highlight the issue. And they wanted to share them both physically, so they put posters up around the campus, but they wanted to share them online as well. And they did just that, and they put the physical posters up in the areas they saw all the litter, and then they sent the other digital posters to the classes to be shared in morning meetings and that. So actually, even down there in K1, that's advocacy starting very young.
Certainly
but understanding that they have a voice and it's powerful.
Absolutely.
So again, we come back to the parents. How can they encourage their children to use technology for good?
Yeah, well, I guess you can start by involving your children in conversations about issues they care about, and then work with them, encourage them to use technology to research more about these issues, find out more, maybe find out some different perspectives.
So we've talked about advocacy there. So how can parents encourage their children to use technology for good?
Yeah, you can start by involve your children in conversations about issues that they care about. So if a child's come home and they're talking about something that they're really passionate about, they feel really fired up by it, then encourage them to actually research about these issues. Share with them places they can go online where they can find out a little bit more, maybe find out some different balanced perspectives around things, and then explore ways that they can use technology to raise awareness. It might be they might want to make a presentation or a project that they then want to bring into school and share with others, or they might even ask you to share it with your friends, your communities that you're with. You can also participate in online volunteering. There's lots of online volunteering things that you can be a part of, or projects as a family.
Wow, that's really great. And again, that's using being online and using it for very different. It's not screen time just for the sake of it. It's using it for really good. So great advice. Lovely that you can actually engage and do that as a family in that learning, as well as in it, taking action and being change makers. So another area of the updated curriculum concerns media and information literacy. And this is clearly so important in the digital age today. So how does our curriculum address that?
Well, you're right. I mean, the technology world is it's always evolved very rapidly, but it's certainly in light of these last couple of years with the rise of AI, it's really taken off. And with the overwhelming amount of information available online, it's crucial for students to be able to develop the skills to evaluate their sources, distinguish fact from fiction, and just make informed decisions about the information they consume.
This starts with our youngest students and becomes more refined as they move through the primary school. And we want our students to be critical consumers of online information and avoid misinformation. How does the curriculum develop these skills?
Well, our curriculum emphasises the importance of evaluating the accuracy, the relevance and the appropriateness of information that they come across online. You know, if it seems a bit too unbelievable to be true, then it probably is. You know? So students, they're taught how to identify reliable sources, how to compare sources. So if they've come across something and they're not quite sure if it's true, then let's see if we can cross-reference it and find some other sources that say the same thing. We start to introduce them to this understanding of bias and recognising bias, information that might have been led by one's very strong perspective, and understand how easy it is for information to be manipulated, especially in current times with AI. There's so much generative AI products out there where you can easily make unbelievable things look like they're true, or also how information can be presented in misleading ways. This critical thinking is essential for helping our children to navigate the digital world effectively.
So, as is the way with my podcast, back to our parents. What are some tips then for parents to help their children navigate the online world responsibly?
Again, engage in conversation about online content. Ask your child critical questions about sources that they're using. If they come and tell you a fact that you think, no, that's definitely not true, ask them where they found that out from, have a look at it together, see if you can evaluate, and see if they can provide any other evidence that supports the claims. You could start to discuss the potential biases of different sources and different information. If they're sharing something with you about that's totally against what they believe, then you could talk to them about how that sometimes comes about. That is because some certain content online is driven by one bias. And just help them to develop a healthy skepticism towards information that they encounter online. So of course we don't want them to be afraid that everything online is false or fake. That's not what we want to achieve here. But they do need to be quite skeptical about certain things that they find online.
And I think, again, back to, we've come back to it quite a lot of times through here, but being a good role model yourself and demonstrating that critical thinking when you're looking at online content as well. Now, we're going to move on to computational thinking. So those critical thinking skills that you've just talked about, they go across all subject areas. It's certainly not just in the digital world. So now an area that can send teachers and parents into a spin is definitely computational thinking. Can you explain what this is, why it sounds so complicated, and what it really looks like for primary school students?
Well, computational thinking is not as complicated as it sounds, and I'll just dispel the myth that computational thinking doesn't actually have to involve a computer either.
Wow.
Okay, so computational thinking is actually just a fancy word for a problem-solving process.
Okay.
It's educating.
I feel like I understand it better now myself.
You will do. You will, and you will you will perform computational thinking skills all the time in everything
Multiple
that you
times
do.
in the day.
Everything that you do. So computational thinking is broken down into 4 key concepts, let's say. It's the idea that there is a concept called decomposition, where children learn to solve a big problem. You break it down into smaller, manageable parts. There's a concept of pattern recognition. So students learn to spot patterns in things happening. And once you start to see a pattern, it makes it easier for you to solve that problem again in the future. They learn about algorithms, which is creating step-by-step solutions to problems. And then another one, which does sound really complicated, but I promise you it's not as complicated as it sounds, is abstraction, which basically just means focusing on the things that matter. Focusing on the one thing that you really need to focus on to get that problem solved, and not being distracted by all the other things that don't really matter.
which actually sort of goes against the digital, or goes with that digital world where we are distracted because there's multiple things happening or can be happening at the same time. So how does the curriculum make computational thinking concepts accessible and engaging for our young learners?
So our curriculum introduces computational thinking through age-appropriate activities, like creating patterns. They might do that through maths, okay? Yeah. They might, even just counting numbers, right?
Yes,
we're making a pattern,
yeah.
Okay? And then we, of course, we do still do some things that are directly related to technology. And, who doesn't love a good robot? So, of course, we do have a range of robots across our school. And students do learn how to program those robots and give them step-by-step instructions to solve certain problems, to move along a particular path. And as students progress, they do then start to learn more of the complex concepts, like things like loops and conditionals, where they will learn how to start to write maybe a simple computer program.
You'll go up and you'll see in the pods, maybe K1 or K2, sometimes they have those steps actually on the floor, and they have the little bebop moving around them, or they start with themselves first.
They do, yeah.
Move forward 2, left, turn, go left. So that starts really way away from a computer, actually. So again, back to our parents, how can parents support the development of computational thinking skills at home?
Well, just look for any opportunity to practice problem solving or preparing something through step-by-step instructions in everyday life. For example, it could be something like planning a family trip. Well, involve your child in that process, What things do you need to take with you? How are you going to get there? If you're travelling to an airport, what time do you need to leave? Using really specific language and breaking it down into simple tasks so that you can complete the full project together. But you can also encourage them to play like logic games. They can be really good, like board games even, can be a really great way to practice computational thinking. And of course, yes, you could do some coding activities as well. If your child has an interest in that area, then we often share with the children some different websites that they can use where they can also have a chance at practicing some of those skills as well.
Baking, cooking,
the
recipe, following the steps and the method, etc. So, we mentioned some real world applications actually of computational thinking. Any others?
Well, I guess when you're thinking future, if you're thinking about real world applications of this as they go through, of course, in fields like engineering, science, arts, music, they actually all, when you really, really think about it, they all involve some kind of computational thinking in them. So, but by giving our students the opportunity to develop their computational thinking skills, then we're preparing them for a real wide range of future possibilities.
And I think at the start of the conversation, if you said computational thinking, we wouldn't believe in it was as simple as that, really. So, Angela, thank you for joining us on Patter with Pauline today. It's been a fascinating insight into our digital information literacy curriculum. We're going to say DIL curriculum because it's such a mouthful. This newly updated curriculum really serves as a powerful tool to not only leverage, accelerate, facilitate and deepen the learning, but also to connect students with authentic global audiences beyond our school boundaries. And I think by embracing digital learning effectively in the ways that you've talked about today, students can forge deep partnerships with peers, with family, especially family overseas, with community members, with experts. We definitely use that in school, and really empowers them to to take charge of their own learning and their own learning journey within and beyond the classroom. As always, we hope you did enjoy today's Patter with Pauline. It was slightly longer and took a slightly different route to normal, but we included in there what it's like for your child with this new curriculum, newly updated curriculum, and how you as a parent can help with your child's digital learning and help them become responsible, respectful, safe online digital citizens. Thank you, Angela. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time on Patter with Pauline.